There are specific games I would love to see more than anything else in the gaming world. Welcome to another Ramblings of a Madman video. I'd gladly sacrifice a couple neighbors if need be for these games to come to life. So if that is a requirement for a studio to start working on any of the projects mentioned here, contact me and I'll see what I can do. I like my neighbors, but not that much. A couple of them I might even throw in the fire for a Veilguard sequel, how useless they are. Or maybe not. It would be a win-lose situation. Lose annoying neighbor, get terrible game in return. So let's get started, you confused bastards. You know I love old Fallouts, with the second one still being my favorite game probably of all time. Or one of them. So naturally I'd love to see old school Fallout 3. I know about Wasteland, Atom, Underrail and Bethesda's Fallout 3. Tried Underrail and hated the art and graphical style. Played through Fallout 3 many times. Atom review is on the channel, covered second and third Wasteland on the channel fully, and really happy that Fallout has inspired so many projects. However, the proper Fallout license given to a studio like In Exile to give us that old school style writing with a fully open world and the brutality that comes with it has been on my mind for a long time now. Just not in the Unity engine. It would have to look similar to the old Fallouts but with much more detail. In my opinion, atmosphere, world and brutality fit that old art and graphical style perfectly. Match made in heaven. One thing that would have to improve is combat. Just add a cover mechanic so it's not all open field combat and improve something like stealth, and there we go. Kill satisfaction in those old Fallouts was top notch, so that would have to remain. Considering new Wasteland games, I think that wouldn't be a problem. Fallout had one of the more satisfying power progressions as well. Player starts truly weak and each new weapon and armor set is celebrated like a second coming, because now we might be able to take on a mole rat and not just regular rats. Then gradually obtaining more devastating and cooler weapons like Bozar and Gatling gun that shred enemies. Not even that close were safe. Man, this brings memories. I really want Fallout 3 in old style. Microsoft have purchased Bethesda and In Exile, so there might be a slight chance for a proper studio like In Exile to do a dream CRPG for many of us, cause we know by now that Bethesda can't do anything right anymore for RPGs. It's naive to think otherwise. Anyway, moving on to the second game, which is Tenchu. Ayane, Rikimaru, it's fucking time already. Where's your second coming? Can't bloody believe that no one picked up a legendary stealth franchise like that and did something with it. Remake, new game, doesn't matter. Anything. Stealth done in that game was brilliant. If I recall correctly, story was good too, but don't quote me on that. Another game with high kill satisfaction with a touch of artistic. I remember chaining stealth kills, feeling so damn satisfying. One of the reasons was the tools we would choose at the start of each mission and then utilizing it tactically. Level design was fantastic, as it added many options to approach enemies, but also put quite a few bastards that could easily spot our beloved ninjas. It was not an easy game and I respect that. Patience and careful observation were the player's biggest asset. Lose it and then you have to fight, which was a big no-no. Enemies could easily take you out, especially if there were 2 or 3 of them. If I recall correctly, Tenchu didn't have particularly good melee combat, so that's an area where it could be improved. Sekiro reminded me a bit of Tenchu, but only briefly. Maybe some elements of Sekiro's melee combat could be used. Either way, what the fuck are the studios waiting for? Get it done. Next one is by far my most desired game. There's been some iterations and attempts, but nothing even close to what I would like. A proper, humongous Lord of the Rings CRPG. What else do I need to say? Well, I know I gotta say something, but I think most of you got wet or hard or both down under as soon as it was mentioned, and you know why. Perfect world, ripe for a CRPG. I've played most Lord of the Rings games, spent about 5 years on Lord of the Rings Online, played those fantastic cinematic action Lord of the Rings games that were released about the same time when movies were coming out, and also played Lord of the Rings The Third Age that was somewhat of a copy of Final Fantasy X. It was an alright game, but nothing more. What I'm envisioning is a full Lord of the Rings map with all the cities and locations like Moria, Old Forest and the Haradrim region. This is for the Third Age and with the famous Fellowship controlled. I know where the problem would be, and that is the story is set in stone, so decision making is not gonna be a factor. However, next to that they could add lots of side quests from famous cities to explore deeper mysteries of Lord of the Rings lore. Another way is to go to the first stage when Balrogs and Shelobs were plentiful and when Morgoth ruled. That would be a less familiar lore to bring to people, but an age with incredible potential for a CRPG. Question would be how to bring such an expansive world into a game full of story and side content, and who would be able to take on such a project. Realistically, I think only BioWare could do it. Joking, of course. Larian would be my go-to choice. Reason is that they could have the budget for it and also how they structure their worlds. Larian CRPGs have chapters with areas being disconnected, but the player could travel back. Though even if we couldn't, that would be alright. Finishing one region after another. For example, starting at Shire, which would be the first region with Old Forest, Bree Town and all the other villages and cities. Next region Rivendell and the surrounding areas. It would take 20 chapters for the whole world, or maybe they could add more stuff into one chapter. I don't think it would be realistic for the full open world Middle-earth to be represented in a CRPG. Maybe it could, but then lots of towns and villages would have to be really scaled down. I would be alright with that. Honestly, I'd be alright with many versions as long as it is a CRPG and not an MMORPG. MMO did an alright job at that, but content is MMO content, which is automatically bad outside of raids and dungeons, while CRPGs operate entirely differently and can bring much more immersive and engaging writing to the table. Honestly, it doesn't have to be a brilliant looking game. I'd be completely okay with graphics on the level of Owlcat games, as long as the world is fully done and well written. Lore is already there, so the only thing where writers could do their thing is the deeper lore through side quests and side content. The world is there, lore is there, characters are there. Please, anyone? My neighbor annoyed me just the other day, so it would be perfect timing. Next one is something that to many won't make any sense, but I still think it would be an amazing idea. Mortal Kombat beat 'em up, in the style of Final Fight, Streets of Rage, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge and similar games. Honestly, for me, Midnight Fight Express is better than any of the more popular titles, but to each their own in that genre. Still have to play Sifu. I know that Shaolin monks and Sub-Zero mythologies exist, with monks being a good game, while mythologies shouldn't exist. We could also play as Scorpion and Sub-Zero and monks, but they weren't as defined and unique as I would like them to be. I adore Mortal Kombat ninjas, so a game focused only on them with their special moves and unique movesets would be a blast, and no one can convince me otherwise. Imagine a 4-player co-op with Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile and Noob Saibot trashing enemies on the screen and combining their powers into explosive combos. It would be a game to replay so many times, but every ninja would have to be defined and unique to the bone. No copy-pastes. It wouldn't be so budget heavy as well, so definitely an idea many studios could pick up and run with it. As long as Warner Brothers are not in the mix to over-monetize every little thing. Fuck Warner Brothers. Can't stand that corporation. Next. Legacy of Kain new game. I know about remasters and loving the fact some sort of comeback at least is here, but I want a proper new Legacy of Kain. The ones I've played are Defiance, both Soul Rivers and the Blood Omen 2. Yeah, I know the next question. How in the hell didn't you play the original Blood Omen? My bad on that one. Never got to it. Would love a proper remake though, not a remaster of original Blood Omen. That's a good idea, right? As long as they don't destroy it with some sort of Twilight version. Hard to trust many of the agenda-driven studios today, and Vampire thematic has a terrible woke potential. If anyone plans on doing such bollocks, please don't. You'll be eaten alive by the fans, as you should. I would do 100 videos using all my brain power and creativity to fuel the hate campaign, and it would be justified. People think I hate Whaleguard, but I don't. You haven't seen me hate something passionately, trust me on that. But I digress. Defiance was an interesting take, but not a great game. Would like to see a sequel or a similar version of that game, as I think it would appeal to modern audiences a lot. Even though I'm isometric first till I die, but that's subjective. Legacy of Kain has a really good storyline that could be expanded with creative writing. We haven't had a proper hard-hitting vampire game in a long time. Soul River might still be the best ever. Bloodlines was great too, and maybe the sequel will do something good. Castlevania games, of course. I'd be up for anything in the Legacy of Kain franchise, whether an isometric hack and slash, CRPG, third-person action adventure, Souls-like, Blood Omen remake. Out of all games on the list, I think this could be the most realistic one to see the light of day. Last one on the list is Bushido Blade sequel. I loved that game as a kid. Outside of boxing and MMA games, it is still one of the most realistic fighting games ever made. Every move you made in that game was significant. Preparing a heavy attack, moving forward slightly, stepping outside of range, hoping for a killing blow, waiting on the enemy to do some slight alteration creating confusion, successful disarming, injuring limbs. Might sound basic, but the thing is rarely any game has made such significance out of every move. Hard to explain if you haven't played it. I don't recall any game that ever made me dread to make a move or when the enemy started attacking. Automatically the brain turns into tactical mode with that game. I'm also aware that Hellish Court exists and they have done a great job of resurrecting such combat styles, so kudos to them, but a proper Bushido Blade sequel would be something I'd wet my pants out of excitement. They could do so many things with modern graphics with such a game. Anyway, that would be my list. Let me know what you would love to see above everything else. Due to how unrealistic most things are in this video, neighbors can sleep safely. Maybe one day. Check out links in the description to Patreon, subscribe, start merch, blah blah, if that is something that would interest you. See you.